All right, and we are live here on a Gamers
Finally.
Mic podcast with finally, aka BobbyLeeSwaggor.
It's Bobby, baby!
I knew you had to do it.
Had to.
Man, welcome to the cave.
Thank you, man. I'm honored. To be here.
What's your first thought when you?
Man, it's everything I thought it was going to be. It's everything I thought it was going to be.
Well, like I said, I'm definitely going to have you back on before I'm even going to ask you this. I ask every one of my guests so far, only a couple,
Right.
this question. I'm sure you've seen it. How did you get started gaming?
Man, I've been gaming since even my first memories of gaming.
Yeah.
So, growing up, I have two half sisters, and they're older. I'm originally from Canada, so they live up there. And then my full-blooded sister, the four of us grew up in my dad's parents' house, so my grandparents'
Right.
house. We called them Oma and Opa because they were from Germany. But we lived in the basement part. They lived in the big house. We lived in the basement part, which was my dad built together, and it was nice. It was big enough for all of us. And we had a little playroom,
Mm-hmm.
and in that back playroom is where my two sisters stayed when they stayed with us.
Right.
And from my fondest memories, if I can even think back, was with old Duck Hunt on
my
Super
God.
Nintendo system. Right?
I remember you telling me that in the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Duck Hunt.
Yeah. Yep. And I remember having to put the gun up to the screen because
Yeah.
I wasn't so good at shooting, so I used to cheat and put it in this.
Right at it.
Man, it was crazy. So that's probably like my first memory of gaming. So I've been gaming since.
So how old were you whenever you were playing?
3, 4.
3, playing Duck Hunt, just like
Yeah.
put it.
Well, my sisters, man, my second oldest sister, she's like a genius. She's like the genius of the family, man.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever a game needed to be built or beat, she was always the one to beat it for us. So 'cause she just figured things out so quick. So we played Sonic on Sega. Super Mario 3 was the one you could fly around.
Yep.
What else? We had little Game Boys.
Man.
Paperboy.
Dude, that's good. I mean, like, having someone who could literally just go in and beat it for you, or at least teach you how.
Yeah.
Because whenever I was growing up, like, I had an older sister, so she didn't play the same games as I. She would be playing Spice Girls and all this other kind of games on PlayStation.
Right.
And I'd be playing, just different games like Spyro and stuff. And, like,
Right.
I couldn't get past stuff, so I'd just keep on just running around. And then eventually I wouldn't know how to save games and stuff, so I'd just keep replaying the same thing over.
Right.
So whenever I finally got Spyro, because of you, I was watching you and Christy play it. So then when I was playing, I was like, oh my God, I remember this map or whatever because of I
Right.
played it 1,000 times because I couldn't get past the first, first hour of the game.
Right.
But man, that's crazy having someone that could help you,
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember she was so smart before the internet. Like, the internet was just out as we were kids. Like, it was really starting to hit mainstream as
Right.
we were kids. I think I'm only a couple years older than you, so without giving my age away. But we had a computer. It was one of those it was like very floppy disk still, like the
Oh my
classic
God.
floppy disk. It
Yep.
was terrible. But anyway, so she couldn't have cheated.
Right.
But she figured out a way how to get Golden Sonic before anybody else did. So we were playing around, like we would cheat obviously and pull out Golden Sonic, which
Right.
was a cheat code in the game, and then Knuckles, or not a cheat code, but it was an unlockable Easter egg.
Yeah.
And Knuckles as well, and a lot of people didn't know how to bring out Knuckles.
Wow.
She just ended up playing
That's
the game,
crazy.
figured out how to do that.
And then now all it is just look it up online.
Google University.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Google University.
Yeah. Don't know something? Google University.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, now, like you said, the internet was just kicking off, so no one really was. I mean, the internet was just starting out, so no one had any really information about how to beat a video game. Now it's unreal. How to beat just like one level everywhere.
Right.
They'll walk you through it. There's probably 20,000 videos of just showing you how to get through
Easy.
that
Easily.
level. But I want to ask you a lot of questions
Please do.
because so I know we're both wearing the same hoodie,
Yeah.
and it is the QC. And I got my hat up there, by the way. It's QCG, Queen City Gaming, and
Yes.
what a lot of people, if they're just new to the podcast or just discovering you here,
Right.
what is QCG? What is Queen City Gaming?
Queen City Gaming is an esports and competitive gaming team out of Charlotte, North Carolina, or the area. It doesn't necessarily just strict to Charlotte itself, but I wanted to do something for the area. So I've had the idea to do something like this as an esports team years ago, and I never really knew how that looked, what it was going to look like. I didn't know have any kind of direction. It was just something that I knew I wanted to do when I was about, in my mid-20s. Again, not without giving my age away. And it took years to really take a look at the landscape of where gaming is heading, where it is now currently, or when I started Queen City Gaming a couple years back. And it just kind of happened to turn out the tournaments, and I knew I wanted to eventually help people, not necessarily each individual, but I wanted to help younger kids. I wanted to help people that were already doing it, that didn't have an avenue to be able to be a part of something together.
Yeah.
To be able to build as a team and get themselves even more out there, because now having a team behind you just gives you a little bit more legitimacy as a gamer.
Right.
When someone's backing you or a group is backing you, like, oh, they're back or they're with da-da-da-da.
Yep.
It kind of just, people without even really knowing how big the team is automatically think you're here because you're part of that team, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to do with being a gamer myself. I wanted to help give others that legitimacy, saying, hey, these guys are serious. I know some guys who were 30 pushing 40 that have been doing this for years, just never had the opportunity.
And like a year ago, I mean now there's starting to be a little bit more in Charlotte, but a year ago, when we were a year or two ago, or even I would say 3 years from now, or 3 years ago, there was nothing here. And so now you can start seeing it to evolve here in Charlotte, and you see people coming out of the woodworks of like, oh, I'm part of this organization in Charlotte. I'm part of this organization in Charlotte. And I love it, bro, because once Charlotte gets on the map, like it's just, I think actually in a week, next week, and for the Charlotte Hornets Venom, or the Charlotte Venom for the NBA 2K, their team is going to be their first home team, and it's going to be in Spectrum. That's going to be crazy, their home game.
Yeah, that's big. So we actually, we've been talking with them before the team was even formed. About how to try to help give guys the opportunity. So my thing was, I never wanted to just try to connect with somebody and say, hey, give us an easy ride. Because I still want Queen City Gaming to be QCG. My thing was to try to help get guys through whatever avenue, network connection or whatever. Because this is a network marketer's dream right here. So many different types of people play video games, run orgs, do management. The amount of different people I've met just from doing this for past 2.5 years or so has been insane. So to help get guys who would never have that opportunity to be able to get to the 2K League, to be able to get scouted, to make an income for themselves, to provide for their families in another way was my goal.
And it's crazy because you're looking at all the different roles, like you were saying. Like, I just casted not too long ago, in Charlotte, and there's people who were coming to that event as a coach, literally just coaching, and like he was making something out of it. Casting, I met a few casters who were literally in it, and that's their job. Like, esports right now is growing to an unreal amount, and dude, it's only getting bigger from now.
I always tell people, like people who are just starting to learn, I tell them, okay, when I tell them different ideas or different avenues that even they can go, because I want to help see people win. So if they have certain gifts that they can bring, I tell them, you should be doing this. Like, I didn't even know you could do that. Well, guess what? I always tell everybody, there is no ceiling where esports is. I mean, come on. It's going to be in the Olympics in the next couple of years.
It's unreal. Like you said, like there's no ceiling at all, because we haven't seen, like, every year is a different, like, I want to be a graphics designer for the stream that's going on. Like, there's so many. There's amateur teams. There's college teams, college organizations. There's just a bunch of like local tournaments, and then obviously the big time, which everyone wants to be in. But like, we don't know the next game that's going to be on esports. Like it could come out next year.
And I think game developers are seeing that too, and they're seeing how there's such a niche for battle royale games. Now there's a new game coming out in March that I'll drop on here that I played the beta for. Was called Bleeding Edge, and it's very similar to Overwatch, but still it's kind of its own game. And I'm thinking is going to be the next real big one that's going to be competitive.
And you already know Overwatch is unreal.
Biggest game in the world.
It's unreal.
Biggest game in the world.
And half the time I still don't know what's going on. I need to do some research on that because everyone's on it.
I mean, I would say that COD is the biggest game, but when you include anything from Asia,
Oh yeah,
immediately you multiply the
that
fact
just
that
takes
it
that
takes
just
the
takes
cake.
it out. That just takes it out. And like yeah, exactly. Whenever you have and then same thing. What was League of Legends is
Yeah, League of
huge.
Legends, Dota is big over there.
Yeah. Oh, for real. Yeah. And then I mean, and like you said, we haven't even cracked the surface.
Yeah,
There's
not
gonna
even
be
close. Not even close.
and like and it's just gonna be more games coming out, more professionals. You know,
more money being pumped in.
it's
Which
unreal,
means higher
man.
quality. I mean, it's gonna get nuts.
At
dude.
that tournament, like the young guys who are like literally 17 playing are like one of the top players.
Yeah.
And 17 years old, like they haven't even. So they're just growing up on it. You know, back. This is good for us because back then we never had that opportunity.
Right.
Like imagine us whenever we were younger, like having all these tournaments. Like that's all I wanted. Like
Right.
I was like, is GameStop doing a tournament? Like I would love. Like if they said they're having, I was gonna be there like an hour early,
Right.
and I was gonna.
Now
do my
I'm not crazy old. I mean, like I was saying, I was about 2 or 3 when I was playing Super Mario 3 and Duck Hunt. That should give you at least a range of how old I am. But I always tell people, if I was Booga's age playing video games, I'd be a millionaire by now.
Yeah, I mean
Easy.
it's
Just off competitive gaming, nothing else alone. But again, things happen for a reason. There's still opportunity, tons of opportunities for everyone to get a piece of something in this.
and I feel like you just got to be. It's got to be good timing too, because
Absolutely.
like kids right now who are growing up and trying to be the top Fortnite is probably unlikely. But and think about it though. But maybe in 2 years from now, whenever they're 16, 17, another game comes out and they could be the best in the world at it, and then they could be making $1 million.
Well, I think it's like anything. I think esports is just like regular sports, right? I mean, football is still football. You still have LeBron James, but the game constantly evolves, right?
Right.
So I think that if people get it, and especially esports is, they say sports is a young man's game. Well, esports is even a younger man's game because when you're older like us, you have responsibilities, you have families. More time has to get dedicated towards that, where when you're 13, 14,
That's all it is.
literally
gaming.
your life can revolve around this. And
Yeah.
parents are now starting to see that and say, okay, my kid has a skill. That's okay. I want this to revolve around him so it can come back in some kind of way.
And that brings up a good question also is like, as a parent, like, do you have a cutoff for like how many hours a day? Because I know this is big. Like, there's a big thing going on. Like, I know you can, be a professional at this if you work toward it, but also go outside.
Right.
You know?
So, again, here's the kicker. When we were younger, I was always outside playing
Same.
basketball. I played football growing up, so I had that.
And the only time is like whenever it was raining, then you can go and play video games,
Maybe an hour before practice or on the
Right.
weekends.
Yeah.
Right? Because if not, then I had to come back home from practice and do homework or something like that, and I was terrible at homework when I was growing up, So I played a little bit more video games than I should have. My parents let me get away with it. But but yeah, no, I think that with a lot of people starting to see the payoff now that their kids can actually make money through even streaming. I mean, we know a kid
That's
ourselves.
crazy.
We were just talking about this. Like a kid's like 8 or 9 years old and a few hundred followers, and give him another year or two, he's gonna be killing the game.
It's
man.
unreal.
He's not even 18 yet.
Kids will come out and just the thing is like, if I was a kid, they just don't understand that they have so much like years. Like, dude, you do 3 years of this nonstop.
Yeah.
Dude, you could be like 12 and like be making bank.
Yeah, and it's a consistency
It's
thing.
crazy.
So think about it. If you have those years to spend early before you go into college or get a real job and start having real responsibilities like bills and then a wife or husband or whatever you are, and that time alone just gets you that much farther ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, let's change it off of this subject. Let's see. Come on now. Let's go to so QCG's been running tournaments recently and in the past.
Right.
Let's talk about your past tournaments. Like, what have you guys been running?
So in person, we've done a lot more. Obviously, sports games. People will travel, I find, for the sports games. What I've noticed about online, and we're gonna eventually we're educating ourselves on how to tap into the online shooting market, and it's a lot easier. The trick is with running tournaments is nowadays people want the comfort of their home.
Yep.
You have to get creative in how you're going to get people out of their homes to come to your tournaments physically, right? Because you don't know how many people come to me and say, "Yeah, I'm going to come to your tournament," and then don't show up.
It's a ton, and they do that with everything. I feel like commitment nowadays is like
No, it's and you can't. Put
Someone
it,
say something, and they always do.
Yeah, you can't put it like when someone says they're gonna come to my tournament. I never believe them.
No.
I just even if they do, I give them not the benefit of the doubt of coming because it's like I can't.
You really can't count on people anymore.
You can't. And it's really not. It's just the culture. It's
It's just what it is now. It's just like, I guess people are just. Yeah, I mean, like imagine if you asked me and if I said, yeah, I'll be there, but still in the back of my head, I'd be like, nah, I just didn't want to like hurt his feeling. Like that's where it's at right now, you know?
Right.
It's just like, come on,
man.
Well,
even for tournaments, I do a lot of obviously a lot of online marketing, but I also do in person. Like you know me, I will go to the mall and put in a lot of
That's
hours.
how I got
in.
That's how I got in.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of the legwork too, where I'm going to the malls and I'm just literally haggling people. Where not to where it's like very aggressive.
Not harassment.
Exactly. There you go. Perfect way to put it. But I put in a lot of legwork in person and physical, and I do talk to people, and I get out there in the public, and you'd be surprised how many people are so excited in the moment, and I know for a fact, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I can see you're excited, but you're not coming. I can already tell from jump.
Just off the start. Well, man, let's talk about this Madden tournament, because I got smacked at the end. I made it pretty far, but just kind of...
And I meant to ask you, what was the final score, if you don't mind me asking? Was it like you didn't get skunked, did you?
Oh, yeah, I think it was close to that, yeah.
Did you finish the game? The last game?
I don't think... It was close.
Okay, it was very close. Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't a close game, but it was close toward the end, like to where I didn't get... I don't know. Yeah, I might have. The first game was a close game against him. Same guy who took me out, Manny.
Right.
And the second game, I tried the Green Bay... And I tried a whole different approach and everything, and don't change anything if if it's not broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And I would literally, if I would have played that first game, like I think he got like a 4th and 15 or 4th and 16 on me like 2 times, and he went for it and still got it. I was just shaking my head the whole time, and I think one of them was like a touchdown, but yeah. So I once I lost to him the first time and then switched up, I lost from the jump.
Right.
But from I did all right. The first 2 games I did well, and then after I lost the third game, went in played.
When I knew you didn't come out the Xbox side, I knew that he was gonna win it.
Yeah.
And obviously, for those who don't know, Discounts played the Xbox winner, who was the eventual winner in the Xbox final for that tournament.
Yeah. So I lost in semis.
Yes.
And
to the eventual winner. So.
Yeah. And he's good, man. That's the one thing is like if I played Madden nonstop, I played it a lot, but like not recently. I've been jumping around games, playing a lot of Call of Duty.
Right.
And like I feel like if I was dedicated, I feel like I could have stopped it because his boy came up to me after I lost the whole thing and like I was eliminated. He's like, "Hey man, if you would have done this and this, you would have stopped it." Yeah. And it was only 2 buttons.
Right.
It was Y, right stick. So 3 buttons.
Yeah.
Literally, if I would have done that, then it would have been another ball game.
And that's Madden, though. But so that guy, and you can thank Zay for that because that was Zay's guest. Thanks to him, his name was Manny, by the way. He lives in Atlanta, so shout out to Manny for coming all the way out from Atlanta, man. That was massive. That's a 4-hour drive to where the tournament was. Manny brought like 10 South Carolina guys.
Wow.
That's why there were so many South Carolina guys there because they knew Manny. And Manny actually sets up games with guys set up a tournament where Skimbo showed up and ended up winning it.
Wow.
So this guy isn't, so to lose like someone like him.
Oh, I know.
You're not losing to somebody, you're not losing to a scrub or a guy who's just doing this for the first time.
Well, and
you're
I
losing
knew.
to a guy who's underground, a legend.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows his actual real. I didn't know who he was, and I know User, I know Magic, I know Zay.
All the guys who are public about it.
Yeah.
He wasn't public about it. He just came
and he's
in
okay
there
with that.
He put in business.
Yeah, and he's okay with that.
He put in work.
And he didn't even when he won it, he said, "Don't put me on the IG." That's why nobody saw me post pictures of who won the tournament afterwards. He didn't want to be on there. And
that makes sense.
I respected that though.
He's going ghost.
I could have played. He's like put my boy on because him and his boy ended up splitting the pot. I could see they came together, so they didn't want to face each other. And they both walked away with a hefty amount anyway, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But he was like, "You can put him online, don't put me online." And I just eventually just scrapped it and didn't put anybody on.
Yeah. That's crazy, dude.
He would have won it anyway. I seen how his boy played. I seen how he played. He would have won it anyway.
He was good, bro. Like, and that's why, like, whenever I lost that first game to him, and then, whenever he told me I had to beat him twice. So that's whenever I was just like, this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was a struggle losing to him by that close. But, but yeah, shout out to him for sure.
Absolutely.
And everyone who came to that tournament, dude, I had a good time.
Yeah, we had guys from Kentucky. I
was going to say
shout out to those guys who came out all the way from Kentucky.
That, and also the guy who came from Raleigh, who I was talking to a lot at the, D Breezy, I'll give you a shout out. He came from, Raleigh, right?
He lives in Fayetteville now. So still.
Okay, so Fayetteville, but then, he didn't drive there, right?
Mm-mm.
He took a bus, 5 hours, and then he stayed in a hotel that night, and then took a bus back, another 5 hours.
I didn't know that.
And then he said he's gonna come to the next one. He's like, dude, he's dedicated. So shout out to D Breezy for doing that, bro. That's tough.
Salute you.
I drove 3 hours myself to go to a tournament. I think the one right before yours, out in I forgot where, Goldsboro.
Yep.
And drove 3 hours there and 3 hours back, and that's where I met him. But 3 hours, like, I thought that was a lot. Dude, he rode 5 hours on a bus and back, dude.
I can only imagine.
And stayed in a hotel, like, that's dedication.
That's dedication, man. But I've seen Breezy. Breezy's actually played at Game Station out in Indian Trail. He was at the tournament there too, so I know that he was gonna come out here. Yeah. And he even told me, "When are you doing your tournaments?" Once I spoke to him and let him know who I was, he said he was gonna come. So the fact that he's a man of his word too, man, salute to you.
And that's what we were just talking about. Most people don't do that.
Yeah,
like,
you can tell who the ballers are.
There's only a
man.
handful of people.
Yeah, you can tell who the ballers are. They'll come for your tournament.
Well, here we go, man. Time for rapid fire.
I'm ready. Let me have a swig, bro.
All right,
because I gotta get ready for this.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you.
This is the part I was waiting for, by the way.
Well, there's some of them are the same questions, but I switched some up for you.
I like it.
Specifically. And also some things that I've switched up just because of my tweets and stuff. So
sure.
We'll see. Are you ready?
Yes.
Favorite all-time system?
PlayStation 2.
Favorite all-time game?
Any game in the Uncharted series.
What game were you best at? It can be a series too, I guess.
God of War 3.
Ooh, that's a tough one to be.
Yeah, it was really tough, but I grinded hours on it.
Hardest game ever played?
Oh, jeez. Dark Souls.
Okay, I think that was someone else's too. Might have been Josh's. Most underrated game?
Infamous.
High or low sensitivity?
For me, it's low because
I'm with you.
My eyes don't adjust like they used to.
And for me, it's for long range gunfights. I like.
Absolutely, yeah,
dude.
I never thought about that.
You'll outgun people who
right,
with on higher.
You will, but a lot of the time when it's up close, it's because my eyes can't adjust as fast anymore as they used to when I was a kid.
That's true. Favorite sport?
Soccer.
Favorite sports player?
Of all time.
Just whoever.
Eddie George.
Ooh. Well, this is a little segue then. Favorite team?
Tennessee Titans.
And favorite teams just out of all your...
I'll break it down because it's hard. So my family's from Germany. Obviously, soccer, number one. Even though I didn't play, I played football growing up. Soccer is probably my number one. It's just a beautiful game. But in soccer, unlike other sports, they have their clubs, right? They're not teams.
Yeah.
So my family, being from a village outside of Munich, which is in Bavaria, I grew up on a Bayern fan, an FC Bayern fan, Bayern Munich fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're obviously my favorite soccer team. And, like, compared to, like, the Titans, like, soccer is so much more deeper rooted than, say, football, baseball, basketball, hockey.
Yeah.
Soccer is it's like almost like gang related.
Yeah.
Like, when people go to, like, the World Cup and Germany's playing and people are really getting disrespectful, well, that disrespect isn't just trash talk. It's, like...
It's real.
Real disrespect, right? So, I'm, like, hardcore bleed Bayern since I was a kid. Because my grandfather, who came from Germany, was Bayern, and so on. My dad, Bayern. Football, the Tennessee Titans.
Yep.
Basketball, because I'm from Toronto, was obviously the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually grew up a Timberwolves fan. I was a huge Kevin Garnett
I was
fan.
about to say Kevin Garnett, huh?
I was the kid because he got drafted when I was about 5 or 6.
Oh, so that's perfect.
Yeah, and that's when they just changed the jerseys. I still have to this day on me a Kevin Garnett black, their alternate black jersey with the trees on the collar. Yep. So Kevin Garnett, then he went to Boston, so I was a big Boston fan at one point. But it was really just because
that was a good team too when he was on Boston.
Right, and it was just a KG thing. It had nothing to do with Boston.
You just kind of followed him. Yeah. I know people who do that.
Right, and baseball Blue Jays. But my first ever supported that I ever chose to support a team was the Colorado Avalanche in hockey.
Oh, really?
They had just got the team in '95, and they showed the team versus the Leafs, and I think it was because I was making fun of Patrick Waugh.
Mm-hmm.
I read it Roy, and I was like, his name's not Waugh, it's Roy. But that was the French, you know.
Right. So. Favorite cigar? Because we talk about cigars a lot. We're going to smoke one after this, by the way.
Yes. So I'm a big cigar head, aficionado. Probably the EP Carrillo Dusk or just anything by EP Carrillo.
Okay. What are we smoking tonight?
That's a Gurkha Ghost.
Gotcha. So... for people who are out there who are into cigars, that's what I'm just now getting in there. So I just got my first humidor and just trying to learn, man. And it's crazy like how detailed it is and all the stuff that you can get from smoking cigars.
A lot of people don't understand that,
but it's the same thing with wine, same thing with IPA, same thing with like it's a ton of stuff. You get a little different taste from different ones, and
that's right. And I've been smoking cigars for years now, and when I first did it was to kind of look the part, but then I didn't know what I was doing, and when I was you got to learn how to smoke properly. You got to learn how to enjoy it properly. It's not like cigars aren't just something you just blow through because they're expensive. But you gotta. I like to try to enjoy the finer things in life, and so cigars are one thing that definitely bring me peace and allow me to do that.
So let's go back. So that was it for the rapid fire, but let's go back and elaborate. You got it. You made it. You made it. So favorite all-time game system? I forgot what you said.
PS2.
PS2, and why is that?
Just the library, I think itself, was massive.
It was, man. It really had a lot.
I think it is the biggest library to date.
That's crazy.
But I think it just because close. Obviously, you have your close N64. I mean, there's systems that are very close.
Yeah.
But PS2.
I enjoyed the hell out of PS2.
Yeah, it's for me. It was most memorable. Yeah. I guess I have to say too.
I'm that with 64 just because it's a lot of classics.
Yeah.
PS2, you really a lot of games you don't think about. Like for me, it was like the meathead sport games like Slugfest, NFL Street. Oh my God, that's one of the best football games ever. For me, it was not the Street one; it was Street 2, NFL Street 2, where you could jump off walls and I had a blast.
NBA Street Volume 2 was on there,
and then Blitz the League. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, like I played a ton of that.
I remember playing Final Fantasy X on PlayStation 2 when it came out before all the remastered junk. They're remastering games that I played originally.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're doing that also, like on like the Xbox One now. They already brought back MW2 and all that stuff.
But here's another one. Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the biggest games out.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And still,
I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3 when they made the transition from because 1 and 2 were PC games.
Yeah.
And they transitioned to PlayStation 2. And I still remember this day when I bought 3 and playing it. My mom, they weren't like super liberal, but she was like she didn't like what she was hearing, but she knew it was just the game.
Oh my God, I got a story about Grand Theft Auto. So shout out to Justin and Chad, my cousins. So we would go and trade games,
right?
And we would always trade games back and forth. Here you'd have this for a week, and then I'd take one of theirs, and we'd just back and forth. So it was literally like GameStop, just from like I'd buy this game, and then we just trade them, and then which was awesome because literally like we wouldn't all have to buy this, the same game. So, so we would do that, and then because they lived right next door, so they ran down the hill, and I ran up the hill to go get games and stuff, or we'd meet halfway,
right.
And then they brought me one time Grand Theft Auto. Now, they're a lot older than me. So they obviously got Grand Theft Auto, and they were, playing it. They brought it over to my house and played it. And obviously, my parents heard about it. They're like, all right, you can't play this game. Like this is like we've heard it through like. So then I'd play it on mute, and then they still saw some stuff they didn't want me to play. So eventually, I got them to like leave it overnight, and I'd play it. And one time, my dad walked in on that and just snapped the game in half.
Jeez.
And it was bad. It was like it was just like shit. That's not even my game, dude. But like he was so mad. I was like, but yeah.
Good parenting. I guess to a sense. I mean, my parents, they were great parents. They obviously told me that it was just a game, so I was never one of those kids that took it uber seriously.
Right.
But it was obviously funny because I couldn't have been more than. Was I 6th grade? So I was 12 when the game came out. I was playing the game. 12, playing a game like Grand Theft Auto 3, which was pretty at that time. Like it was very risque, very edgy.
But now, like, and I played every GTA after that. Like I played them all.
Right.
So after that, my dad didn't care. And I'll tell you another story about him. I want him on the podcast because he's gonna be funny to see his reaction, man. Because whenever I'd be playing game battles, and for those who don't know what game battles is, it's just like a competitive scene of Call of Duty, and they had a bunch of games on it, and they still do. But it was popular back then, and trying to get ranked on that, pros were playing it. So me and my friend would be playing, and my dad would go, like, it'd be like midnight. And he's like, all right, he's got to go to school tomorrow. He would unplug the router. So it would shut me off, and I'd be in the middle of an intense game, and I'd text my friend. I'd say, hey, man, I'll be back on in 15 minutes. Give me 15. And so he would go back to bed. I'd sneak right back downstairs, plug it back in, and I remembered where I laid down the cord, like exactly where he put it down. So whenever I finally finished playing, I sneak back down there and unplug it and put it back down there like I've never been. And eventually, like I told him, he found out when I got older. And he's like, "Wow, you son of a!" Like he told me. It's funny, man. That's good, I want to see his what he would say, but it's crazy, man. That's good.
But that'd be a good one. I look forward to looking for that, man. 'Cause I can only imagine the things that I remember. My dad obviously was a very hardworking guy, and he tried. And on N64 we played Madden 64, and he legitimately tried. Now, what my dad was good at was watching me play and helping me figure it out.
Okay.
So in Madden 64 was actually super tough because the computer was horrible, especially when I'm like 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked Detroit because they had Barry Sanders still in the game.
Oh, nice.
And I was a huge Barry Sanders fan growing up. And he said, "Why don't you?" He's like, "Run a dive here." And I could never break a big run. I could rarely even score.
Yeah.
He's like, "Run a dive here." Sure enough, I ran a dive. Don't I take it for a touchdown?
Wow.
I'm looking at him like, "How'd you know all that?" And he kind of gives me the wink, right?
Yeah.
Walks off like he knew he was doing it the whole time.
And it's funny because like, as a kid, like whenever you're playing something like Madden or any kind of football game, you're like, dive. They're like, you're running right into the defense. There's a defense right there. Why am I running up the middle? Like, there's gonna be guys waiting for me. And you always run a toss. You don't run a toss. Or like back in Madden 2004, you just scramble around Michael Vick.
Right. Yeah.
But it's crazy, man. Just like, whenever they're old, like you get older, you're like, wow. Like now, I run dives all the time. That's my So guys, if you're gonna play me first game ever in Madden, I will run a dive on you first play. I swear, bro, I will. But I was gonna say, because we talked a little bit about PC games, and I went over to my dad's actually the other day, and he had old PC games that had backyard baseball, backyard football, like Medal of Honor, like all those games, Call of Duty. Do you remember like a throwback PC game that you like?
One was Madden. I actually had a PC game for that, but not only just throwback. I mean, I grew up PC gaming when PC gaming was very elementary. So StarCraft, Warcraft, Diablo was huge. When I was in middle school, I was all about Diablo.
That's crazy, man.
So Diablo 1 and 2. Yeah, those were the classics for me, man. And I remember playing with buddies, and it was nothing serious. It was just with buddies or whatever. Yeah. And now StarCraft, I tried to get serious, but I got blasted. I was not very good at it.
So when did you get into competitive? Because I remember like whenever I play sports all my life, and I know you did too. Mm-hmm. So that's already competitive nature. So like in my head, I always just, wanted to beat somebody or be the best at it. So whenever I would have friends over, I would run a Madden tournament.
Right.
And I'd be playing all week and stuff, and they would play it once a week, and I like eventually when middle school I was like, all right, we're putting $5 down, like, and they're like, okay, like, sure, whatever. And I would just win the whole thing and take the money, and then then eventually I was like, let's keep playing these, they're fun. And they're like, nah, man, we're good. And they weren't the kind of gamers I was, and I was just like, man, I gotta find people like that. So eventually that's when I discovered online and got that. That's kind of how my stuff got started. How did you really like get into like competitive
So
gaming?
growing up, obviously you always play with buddies, so the same thing. Playing at your house. I mean, everyone was always at my parents always let friends come by, hang out or whatever. I had my little game room when I was in Canada, and I was whooping on everybody there because it was fun to whoop on my boys because my sister's boyfriend, I had 3 other sisters, they'd bring the boyfriends over, they'd say, oh, let's play Madden real quick, and they would whoop me. So my skill level was obviously getting better and better because I was playing so many more older, advanced thinking people. And I got blasted as a kid. So when I came in middle school, I was just beating everybody. Got into high school. When I moved down here, you know, Charlotte obviously was at a time where Charlotte was very starting to boom.
Right.
So people from all over were moving here, and a lot of my buddies, obviously me being from Toronto, New York, it's a close connection there. My buddies from New York City, a lot of them are nice.
New York has a lot of good gamers,
and a lot of them don't even just compete; they're just nice at the game. And so, sure enough, I came down here and would whoop everybody from Charlotte, but my boys from New York were a different competition. And I remember that's where I really elevated. And it wasn't until the PlayStation 3 came out did I start competing online. That's when I really started competing, trying to be good.
Right.
When I got into college, obviously I could only play when I wasn't in study hall or playing football or whatever, but I was still ranked nationally for Madden.
That's whenever you're like, dude, I'm nice. I'm not like trying to be, you know, like that, because like back then, like back whenever we were in like middle school and high school, me and my friend talk about this all the time. We're like, back then, we would hear kids always talk about, hey man, Call of Duty, I'd slap, and me and him just shook our head and we didn't say anything because we knew we were better than all those. Everybody, in our whole school, we would beat anybody.
And I used to tell people, I mean, you hear that all the time. Like, there was no point to talk back because the talking back didn't.
No.
It only got me frustrated more talking back. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, whenever you want to play, let me know. And then you play and you smack them.
Yeah.
Like, you were the guy, or I was the guy that everybody always wanted to play.
Yeah.
Because they knew that you were the nicest.
Well, so we finally stopped talk. Like, we didn't bring it up and then let them think that they're nice at the game. We just did our own thing. We still go home, play GBs. They would go play pubs and think that they're good at the game because they're dropping, 20, 30 in team deathmatch. Like, okay. But, and then reality, we're just like, okay. So we finally knew. It's like, it's not enough. It's not no reason to talk about this in school.
Right.
And we also felt like we're like, come on, man, we don't want to be some like nerds over here. Just be like, we can beat everybody in games. So we didn't talk about that either. But now I'm sure kids nowadays, it's a whole nother. Because I was at a tournament and the kids came up. They're like, oh, what tournament is this? And I was like, oh, it's a Madden tournament. And then they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, you think they're going to run a Fortnite? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. Like, it wasn't even my turn. It was in our tournament. Yeah. And I was just saying like, hey, man. And so then I started smiling. I was like, hey, man, so which one of you, it was like five kids, five boys.
Right.
And I was like, hey, man, so which one of you guys are the best at a Fortnite? And everybody raised their hand. And I was like, and then finally, like, the truth came out. He's like, nah, man, I beat you yesterday.
Right. No, it's funny. I mean, with now, there's so many different types of games. Like, back in our day, there was sports games like Madden. Not even FIFA wasn't even that big yet. It was pretty much just Madden. Yeah. That was like the big game competitive.
Well, that was the one that was on actual ESPN.
The Madden Bus.
Yeah. And that was like the first thing we would ever see of video games like online. And then finally Halo came.
And then COD eventually came around. But even COD in its early days,
it took a while.
Yeah, man.
If you look back at the old CODs, like, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know if you remember whenever it first got into streaming, but dude, it was back like 360p. It's crazy when it first started. It was like the Dazzle DVC 100, and that was my first capture card. That was for anyone's first capture card because that's the only thing where it started. But it's crazy. I wish I would have kept all my capture cards so I could line them up and just show like
the evolution.
Yeah, man. Because I bought the next best in the thing and it just kept on going up. And now it's 4K.
Yeah.
So who knows what it's going to be next, but...
Yeah. That's nuts.
What do you think about VR?
I think it has its place. Truthfully, I'm excited to see where they go with it. I think right now it's a little gimmicky. Obviously,
That's why I haven't got it yet. Everyone's still saying like, "Oh, it's crazy." I still think that it's not. It's gonna be better, like
Sure.
in the next couple years.
Sure, and I think it has its niche, but for right now it's gimmicky because there's only so many things you can do through it.
Yeah.
But again, just like everything, I feel like I remember calling this out when I was in middle school. I believe I was with a buddy. When
We're gonna be in the game.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna get tackled by Ray Lewis. I was telling them, like, you're gonna imagine getting blindsided by Ray Lewis in real life. Like, you may not feel it,
Right.
but unless they have like shockers in your head, like,
Oh
my god,
I know.
But no, I think they're eventually gonna have people in the game. I can only.
That's so funny how you say that because you called that. I called out something too. It was similar. You know how NBA 2K has their My Park where you can run around and walk in a store, get your hair cut, walk around. I was like, I'm gonna make a game that we can walk around, drive around, and get out, and then go enter the like the stadium, and then we're gonna be warming up, and and that's what it's already there. It's they made it.
Yep.
It's crazy, man. Like the ideas I had like is now. It's coming to a reality, and same thing what you said. You're literally gonna be in the game. I can't wait for that actually to happen though, where we get into like a Call of Duty match and you're literally just aiming around, and that's gonna be crazy.
I think it's gonna be VR, and they're gonna put you in like green rooms, and I think they already have certain equipment that hooks you up where you can move but you're still stationary.
Right.
And so that's what it's going to be. But they might do it at facilities. I doubt that they're going to be able to have it at first in people's houses.
Right. But eventually, maybe.
Anything is possible, man. Anything is possible.
Nowadays, you never...
I never thought they would
It would be like a one little platform just moves or something.
Dude, who would have thought when the original iPod came out that iPads were going to come out? I didn't know. No one thought about that. You know? So there's crazy. People already ahead of what we're even thinking.
They know what's going to happen.
Right.
But I don't know, man. It's just crazy to think about the future like that, but
I try not to. It gets scary.
It does get scary because then you're just like, dang, man, what am I doing now? Like, we're just playing on a monitor. Like,
I'm a very in the moment guy, so I don't want to keep it like that.
Well, that's good because, like you said, you're gonna freak yourself out if you keep on thinking about it.
But, you drive yourself mad. Absolutely.
So I guess we'll close this one out, man. So where can everyone find you?
You can look us up, Queen City Gaming, up on Instagram, qcg.queencitygaming. That's qcg.queencitygaming. You can also find out BobbyLeeSwaggor with an O on IG. Don't forget the O is at the end by the R, not an E. BobbyLeeSwaggor if you want to be silly about it, but it's really BobbyLeeSwaggor. You can also look us up on Facebook, Queen City Gaming. On Twitter as well. QCG_gaming. I think you were actually the one that set that up. So appreciate you for that. And as well for the BobbyLeeSwaggor, you can find me on Twitter as well. BobbyLeeSwaggor, same thing with the O at the end. Anyone can always reach out to me, ask me any kind of questions, ask discounts here. I'm very touchable. I'm very reachable. I want everybody to win. If you're up and coming in esports and you just want to have some, ideas thrown back and forth, or you have questions, feel free to always. I want to see you win in this. I want to see everybody win in esports. I think it's a beautiful avenue as far as what people are doing with their lives. It brings people together. It can be a very positive thing. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. So you can always reach out to me on those platforms. And
And I'll say that I host him a lot. So if you're on my stream, you definitely see him because I'll host him anytime I see him.
And I'm glad you said I didn't even jump it. You could also find me on mixer.com/BobbyLeeSwaggor.
Yeah.
With an O.
And I'll put all the links in the description, guys, so you don't have to remember. Just click it.
Thank you so much.
And before we go, I didn't get to ask, how did you get the name BobbyLeeSwaggor on because you stuck with it. So we've talked about you changed. You're like, nah, bro, I can't do it. I can't do it. So let me know. So how did BobbyLeeSwaggor come out?
Right.
Obviously, shooter. Right.
I'm glad you asked this question. This is my favorite story to tell. So. Yes, it is from the movie Shooter.
I love it.
So BobbyLeeSwaggor was the main character. I thought when it was called Bobby Lee, but it kind of separates me from that character a little bit and also keeps us connected. So when PlayStation 3 came out, I was just turning 16, or just was turning 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
And PlayStation 3 came out, and that's when you could choose usernames. PlayStation 2 didn't have that. You could go online, but I don't believe you could pick your name unless you were playing that specific game.
I don't remember.
And you could pick it based on the game. Anyway, my first original, that's when I first moved down to Charlotte. I was going to Independence High School down here, and we were known as Big I.
Yeah.
So my first PS3 name was Big I Monster because I played football and I thought I was tough and whatever, so Big I Monster. But everyone kept calling me Biggie Monster because there was no spaces.
Oh, no, I hate that.
B-I-G-I, so they called me Biggie Monster. I'm like, I hated it because I'm like, no, it was Big I Monster. Like, put some respect on the name, right? And no, it didn't work like that. So I eventually changed it. I was like, I can't stick with this. And the movie Shooter came out, right? And I think Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was just dropped.
That's my favorite, man.
Loved it. And when you shot somebody there, and even like the cards now, it shows you who killed you. It shows the name of who killed you. And I love the sniping shooters. You know me, Bobby Snipes. So when I sniped somebody and people would said you got sniped by BobbyLeeSwaggor, I would get messages. People would be like, yo, that's the coldest name ever. Like, yo, your name is so sick. And people kept giving me compliments, so it kind of stuck. Then when I started really like evolving into like more of a personality in esports, everybody that didn't know me, that met me in person for the first time, that may have known me in online, they all call me Bobby.
Yep.
So I walk around Charlotte now, and people are like, yo, Bobby Lee.
And you look,
and
because that's you.
Right.
This is you, man. It's so hard. If you already had a gamer tag and you stuck with for years and years, and that's how like literally everyone knows you on, like. That's you, man. Like, it's literally another identity, but it's you. Like, that's how Discount stuck, man. And like you said, a lot of people said they liked it. And then I just was like, okay. Well.
Calling you your real name and calling you D for me, because I call you D for short, is one and the same.
Right.
And it's like a lot of people for me now, they call me my real name and then call me Bobby. For them, it's one and the same. So I have people that still call me my real name. Some people, I mean, you do both.
I do. I do both.
You do both.
Yeah.
And like you, I do both for you. But again, when I'm just out and about, people yo Bobby. When I came to you and I was like, dude, you knew the dilemma I was going through. That's why I really asked you. 'Cause I was actually thinking about rebranding, guys. I almost thought about changing my whole personality, my whole branding or whatever, and it was impossible for me to do because it was just such an attachment there, such a rich history of where I came from through gaming. So
it is tough. Like, and that's the thing is like. I've been through so many gamer tags and names, and it's just finally one stuck, and now that's just me forever. Like I'm not gonna change it.
Right. Then
I don't think you should. You
Discounts TV is amazing.
Keep the BobbyLeeSwaggor, man. That's how people know you.
I will.
But all right, guys. So I'm glad you told me that story. I'm glad I asked that because I know a lot of people are asking because a lot of they're like, well, that's not his name, you know? Like, why is it Bobby? So that's why I was like, let me get into this details on the podcast.
And that's my favorite story because I even know guys today that I call, like one guy I stream with, his name is Yawa. His real name obviously isn't Yawa, and people don't know like what the hell does Yawa mean. Me and him know what that means because it's from a rapper. It's not even his name. It's just what the rapper says on occasional things.
Wow.
But he's originally from Rhode Island. I'm from Toronto, and we connected online streaming. And I hit him up. I was like, yo, is your name this because of this? He was like, heck yeah. I'm like, did we just become best friends? Pretty much. And we still talk to this day.
The stepbrothers quote.
And we still talk to this day because of that.
That's awesome.
Your identity as a gamer is pretty really much is you.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yep. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna have you back for sure, man. I'm glad you had to do this live because I was planning on to eventually, for the guys who are also want to be on the podcast and is not in the state of North Carolina or can't visit me or whatever, we'll get away.
Yeah.
So eventually, in one episode, you'll see someone who's from another state who we're gonna contact.
Absolutely. But now, dude, this is an absolute honor. I thank you so much for allowing me to do this in the all famous, mighty Discounts TV
yes, sir,
room.
Man. Yes, sir.
It's an honor, man.
Well, episode 6 of A Gamer's Mic is completed. Thank you to BobbyLeeSwaggor. Go follow him on all of his social media and go check him out on Mixer.
Absolutely.
Like I said, all of his links will be down in the description. We'll see you guys later.
It's Bobby, baby!
We'll see you later. Peace out.